You know that feeling you get when you play chess so well and someone is telling you that, hey, you were cheating? In the next 40 minutes, I'll show you exactly how my thought process works as a chess master. It will change how you see chess forever. We're going to be using some very simple structured thinking system to play some chess. The thing is, though, my opponent is 2490, almost 2500. So we have to play some good chess here. Replacing a Sicilian defense, I like to play knight f3 followed by d4 when playing against the Sicilian. It doesn't really matter what opening we're playing against, though. Like, just ensuring that you develop all your pieces is crucial. So knight c6 hits the knight. Let's just go knight c3 here, and then only after bishop g7 we play bishop e3 to guard the knight. Now, this is accelerated variation of the Sicilian. It's very aggressive. Once they castle, I like to pull the bishop back to b3 just to keep everything safe. It's also theoretical stuff. And then after pawn d6, it means they're trying to play knight g4. So we play f3 to prevent knight g4. Bishop to d7 was played. Now I'm going to play queen to d2. And then from here, my plan is to start an attack on their king side. So after a move like rook to c8, I'm going to start with g4. And then I want to play h4 and then h5. It's also important that I get my king out the center of the board though. So immediate knight e5 was played. Looks like he wants to put his knight on the c4 square. And from here, I'm thinking, do I play h4 or do I castle? Let's just play h4. Maybe I'm gonna castle on the next move. Maybe I'm gonna play h5 next. He played rook to c4, basically trying to sacrifice his rook, and it's a nice little tactical idea, by the way, because if I decide to play the move h5 now, he sacked the rook, and if I takes, I lose the queen. And if I take the rook, there's knight takes. Once I move the queen, he takes, and usually in the accelerated dragon, sacrificing the exchange is actually very thematic. So I think he's gonna sacrifice the exchange anyways, to be honest. Like, even if I castle my king here, he's gonna take on d4, and then once I take on d4, he's gonna play knight takes, attack my queen. So how do we continue here? This is a bit crucial for us now. I mean, he's giving us a rook, so we're definitely gonna take the rook. It's gonna be very tricky though. If queen e2 hits the knight, there's knight b2. Rook to b1 hits the knight, and the knight could be trapped. So I should be able to get away with queen e2 to hit the knight. And then if he takes, we take, and we're just ahead by an exchange. But the thing is, I'm not going to be able to attack the guy because he has the light squared bishop. And if he takes my the dark squared bishop, and if he takes my dark squared bishop, I won't have a dark squared bishop. So my goal from here, though, is just to start trading pieces off the board. Because if I'm able to get to the end game with the extra material, then it should not be a hard position for me to convert. But I have to kiss attacking goodbye. Maybe eventually I'm going to still try to open up some lines. I mean, pawn e5 is a nice move. Not sure though, because he's weakening his d6 pawn and he's blocking out his bishop. So I'm not fully sure. The question is, where do we put this knight? It's either e2 or b3. I mean, b5 seems to be a bit risky. So pulling the knight back to e2, I think that makes the most sense. It also supports my knight on c3, and in the future, it can come over to the queen side. So let's pull the knight back to e2. The plan is just to castle my Okay, immediate pawn to d5, I was not expecting. Like, I thought he couldn't have played d5, and he did. Guy's just sacrificing everything. Okay, there is knight takes, pawn takes, and then because I'm the one who's ahead in material, I want to trade, right? There's also pawn takes here, but I think it's best if I trade. So knight takes. If he checks, I block with the knight. Anytime he checks, I block with the knight. So takes, knight takes, pawn takes. If he checks, I still block with the knight. And I'm not really seeing exactly what he has, to be honest. So, I mean, yes, my king is in the center of the board, but I'm going to castle soon. Pawn e4. No, he's trying to keep my king in the center of the board for long. But what happens if I castle? No. Like, his bishop is very strong. I have to castle because my queen and my rook is on the same line. I mean, if he takes, I take back and I should be safe. If I castle, the checks doesn't do anything. Queen to b3 is something that I need to be on the lookout for, but for now it doesn't do anything. So let's just get the king out the center of the board. Right now we're ahead by 3 points, which means once you're ahead by a lot of if you're playing a chess game and you're ahead in material, automatically you can think of a plan of how do I sacrifice back material to simplify the game. So he took on f3. If we take back on f3, the queen no longer guards this diagonal, which means he's able to threaten mate. Should be fine though. I'm just gonna play knight c3. So let's just take, I'm trying my best not to make a blunder here. And because I'm trying so hard not to blunder, I'm using more time on the clock. But hey, I have a better position. Like I also have a pass pawn, and I could now just start rolling that pass pawn up the board. Very dangerous pawn. Queen b3 we were expecting. Knight c3, there's probably rook c8 and then some sacrificial ideas, but okay, we don't believe in too many sacrifices here. Like that sack is just really not going to work. So let's just play knight c3. This is me defending against the mate and kind of blocking out his bishop. And the good thing is, if he decides to move away his rook, his f7 pawn becomes a bit weak. Now I can play moves like rook to f1 and attack f7. Queen b4. Okay, he's attacking my pawn on g4, so I have to be careful here. He has two attackers. I only have one defender. With that being said, rook to g1 simply defends the pawn. Queen to e4 would be a blunder due to bishop takes. I have to be careful. Let's see. Yeah, let's just go with rook to g8 here. I mean, it's natural that I have to make a few defensive moves. Now that he plays rook to c8, this is exactly where I want to start the attack on the f7 pawn. So what if I just play rook f1 now? Bishop takes, we take on f7. Or maybe I could use this rook. Because if he has to play a passive move, okay, use this rook. Sack takes, bishop takes, check, king move. And then the question is, am I mated? Don't think I'm mated. Don't want to make any unnecessary risk though. Like my position is just too much better. So thinking rook to d3. Yeah, rook to d3, just guarding the knight, adding more defense to the knight. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just play a few defensive moves and I should be good. Maybe pawn a3 is going to come in the future. I'm not sure, but I mean, it hits the queen. It forced the queen out of my half of the board. Pawn h4 could also come. I have 4 minutes on the clock, so we have to be careful. Knight e4 will not work due to me losing my b2 pawn. I want to push the pawn, but it gives the bishop access to this diagonal. And I want to go queen e4 to trade the queen, but there's bishop takes knight and my queen is going to be unprotected. Ooh, immediate bishop to b5 automatically attacks the rook. And if I take on b5, he takes on b2. So we can't take on b5 just yet. Oh my lord, that's a nice move. Yo, that was a nice move. Because if rook e3, there's bishop d4. But if I have to lose the rook, I think it's best if I lose it to this dark squared bishop, because that's a very strong bishop. So for example, if he plays bishop to, well, bishop d4, I could also play rook e4 and pin the bishop. So bishop d4, there's rook e4 here. Pins the bishop. That doesn't seem to be a bad move. Rook takes, I just take back. Hmm. Wait, rook takes. If I take, he checks first, then take the rook. Yo, why do I have to be so careful? All right, let's just go rook e1. It's going to be an easier game for me because you don't have the bishop here. And the good thing is I'm still going to be ahead in material. So if he takes, we play rook takes, which is why he didn't take. Yo, he's just so aggressive though. Now I'm thinking rook to e7, which has to be a nice move because now it's forcing him to play a defensive move. Rook e7, let's say he takes, we check king over and then take. Let's go rook e7. I'm also attacking his bishop, so and he's not able to play bishop back to e8. So this could be a winning move. This could be a fork, guys. I'm hitting the unprotected bishop and I have two pieces attacking f7. This could just be a fork that wins the game. Now, I only have two defender on my knight and he has three attackers on my knight, so it's also risky. But, I mean, if he's going to give me a bishop, like, what piece is he going to use to deliver the checkmate if he's going to give me all his pieces? Good. That's what we want to see. Rook to f8, that's now just a bishop. This is now GG's. That's a bishop. Again, let's just be a bit careful. What are the checks? What are the captures? The rook is unprotected, so I'm safe. Now we're ahead by 6 points. 6 whole points. I'm expecting resignation here, to be honest. Like, he sacrificed a lot of material, but he was way too aggressive with it. Pawn takes, I'm not going to play. I mean, if I take, I lose this pawn, but who cares? I'm ahead by a whole entire rook. This rook is unprotected. Let's not blunder that rook. So after queen takes, I could just take another pawn. Okay, let's just grab another pawn here. Once the queen guards the rook, I have nothing to worry about. The rook is unprotected, but it's only one unprotected piece. And from here, I'm thinking of rolling the pawn up the board, but then he has a little check. Doesn't work though. So let's just roll the pawn up the board. If he checks, I block with the queen and continue to roll. And obviously, he's not going to want to trade because he's down by a whole entire rook. So check, we block with the queen. If he trade, it's GG's. If he move his queen, we push. Unless he puts his queen on f3, where he attacks the unprotected rook. But even after queen f3, to convert this game, can I just push? He takes my rook, I queen. If he takes, I check. King has to move. We successfully traded the rooks off the board. That's one way to win. Another way to win is just to keep it simple and play rook to e7. Because now I'm able to play rook e8, trade the rooks off the board, and I'm still going to be able to queen the pawn. With 1 minute 31 seconds, should be a lot of time. So he moves the rook. Now I could push, but let's focus on getting the rooks off the board first. This is called conversion. It's also called simplification. Now that the king moves, now we push the pass pawn. And how is he going to prevent a queen? I mean, he could check me on the back rank. I'll pull the rook back, hit the queen, threaten the queen. Is he going to resign now? And he resigns. 93% for us. Not bad, not bad. So it's an accelerated variation of the Sicilian dragon. Knight c3, bishop e3, bishop c4, all theoretical stuff. Purpose of bishop c4 is to ensure that pawn to d5 is not possible. And then king is castled, bishop b3. I've seen some players play knight g4 here, which is interesting. Upon knight g4, we actually need to take. And then after the knight takes on d4, I think the move is pulling the queen all the way back to d1 here. And then from here, it's just going to be a regular chess game. But let's see what happened in the actual game. So pawn f3, all book moves, all book moves. G4 is decent. They wanted me to just castle, but I wanted to start my attack before I castle. Then he made his first mistake, and then I hit him with h4. So rook c4 was in fact a mistake, and taking the rook. Wait, what? This is one thing that I like about the accelerated dragon and just the dragon in general. Like you could freely sacrifice an exchange, and the position is in the negative. Because after takes queen e2, I thought if knight b2, I go rook b1, and the knight is almost trapped. But they're like, yo, who cares about the knight? Attack the unprotected knight. And then now the knight is coming back out on c4. And if I take on b2, queen takes c3. Ay, ay, ay. But he took, which wasn't good. And then e5 was also a mistake. Like the moment we saw e5, weakens d6, weakens d5, block out the bishop. And once I pulled my knight back, then he was like, oh, I need to get my bishop back in the game. So let me sacrifice another pawn. But I just took. They wanted me to play pawn takes. But hey, the natural move to play is knight takes. We have to trade the pieces off the board. e4 wasn't bad, but then I just castle, guard my pawn. He took all best moves, prevent the mate. Rook g1, guard the pawn, very good. And then rook to d3. Now, rook to d3 was okay. I looked on the idea of rook f1. Why didn't I play rook f1 again? I think I was also planning on putting this rook on f1, but I was kind of scared and I was like, hey, I'm ahead in material. Let's just bring this game home. So they wanted me to play a3 first, hit the queen before I do anything, then just, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because now if I pull back, there's nothing to worry about. But I knew bishop to d4 wasn't as good, so I guarded the rook. And then, okay, I think he obviously needed to take. He's still losing. I would have been ahead by a pawn with a pawn rolling up the board and him having no attack. But he was like, let me keep the attack. But now he's losing the bishop or mate. And then from here, it's just GG's. Like, we're just ahead by too many material to even make a mistake here. Our next opponent is now 2,500. They're getting stronger as we go along. We're facing another Sicilian defense, but this time it's a French Sicilian. So maybe it's going to be a Khan. No, it's not a Khan. All right, this is actually a very interesting line. You guys have seen me play against this line so much, where we go bishop d3 and then we castle. Okay, that's actually not the line. This is now just the Taimanovs, where they're just gonna play pawn e5 and get their bishop out, and they're also trying to play pawn to d5 and get very good control over the center of the board. Let me get my king out the center of the board first here, and then I'm gonna start figuring out how to finish the development of my pieces. I like the idea of playing c4 because it makes d5 harder. If immediate d5 though, I should be able to take and then check. Knight f6 followed by d5 could make some sense. All right, I'm sure knight d2 to c4 is not bad to attack this weak pawn. Knight d2, pawn d5 takes. Yeah, that's too much central control though. Yeah, that's the thing. That's too much central control. Let's play rook e1 first to get the rook in the game. Pawn d6 was played, which means it delayed them playing pawn to d5, which is good news for us. Now we just need to develop. We just need to finish our development very well. I'm wondering if my bishop is good on the c4 square. Where do I put my pieces? I just like the idea of playing c4. Let's go with c4. because in the very far future, I want to make it as hard as possible for her to play d5, and then I'm going to try to target the backward d6 pawn. So she's just developing on castle. How do I continue here? Pawn b3 is a nice idea as well, just securing everything. Also come with some bishop a3 idea to target the weak pawn, but I don't believe that it's going to be too hard for her to play d5 though. So pawn to a5, I'm guessing the bishop wants to go to a6. Hmm. All right, now I'm going to go with queen to d2. Queen d2 is a nice idea. Now it shows that my bishop is going to be going on b2 or a3, preferably a3, because the whole plan was to apply as much pressure to d5 as possible. So bishop e6 means she's more than likely trying to push the pawn. Bishop a3, pawn push. I takes, and I could be winning a pawn. So let's go with bishop a3. And now the plan is just to apply as much pressure to that pawn. I'm also trying to play bishop e2 and then bishop f3 because it makes it even harder for her to play d5. So my whole strategic plan here is to target the backward pawn. All right, so queen c7, bishop f3. I have one, two, three, four. She has one, two, three. So let's go bishop e2, apply some pressure to the pawn. We're expecting rook to d8, and then I'm going to go bishop f3. Once the bishop goes to f3, it makes it just a bit harder for her to play d5. So knight back to d7 was played instead. I'm assuming the knight is trying to go to the c5 square, and I'm not sure how good is it to take and give her the bishop here. That's a really nice move. That's a really nice move. But let's just continue to bring our pieces in the game. All our pieces are active now, and knight c5 is just a very nice way to be like, hey, how are you going to attack d6? All right, how am I actually going to attack d6? I could take and be like, yo, that's an ugly double pawn. Are you comfortable with that? In fact, I'm going to do it. Let's take. Because no knight a4. Yes, the knight is on the edge of the board, but it's targeting the weak pawn. My queen targets this pawn, but eventually my queen is going to go to the e3 square. Now I have two pieces targeting this pawn. Oh my lord, that's a nice move. Yeah, that's a nice move. Yo, the feeling of getting outplayed is just kind of crazy, to be honest. Because the rook is just on the perfect square. Now I need to find a way to get rid of that rook. Okay, we have to go with a different plan, I think. Maybe I should put the bishop back on d, or maybe just pull the knight back. And then after she double up the rook, I go bishop d3 with the plan of playing knight e2. And then once the rook move, I try bishop c2. I don't see what I get from that. I could takes, pawn takes, undouble her pawn. Yeah, my plan seems to be a bit too slow. Let me try. All right, let's go with this plan. The knight isn't really doing too much on the edge of the board anymore. I wanted to apply a lot of pressure here, but it's not really doing too much. I'm going to go with the knight e2 plan because we just can't allow opponent's pieces on our half of the board. Applying some pressure to my bishop would make some sense. So maybe I should have just pulled the bishop all the way back. Because queen here, if I go here, okay, pawn h6, bishop to g5 is the threat. That's a nice threat. So knight back hits the rook, bishop back hits the queen. Let's say I go queen f3, the rook is still under attack, or even queen g3, the rook is still under attack. And then once the rook move, I go h4. Yeah, I'm going to try that. So knight e2, bishop g5, queen g3, h4 is going to eventually kick away the bishop. Okay, immediate rook back to d6 was played. Fine move. I'm not able to take the pawn now because the bishop is on the diagonal. I don't think my bishop is safe on d3, like it's gonna be attacked. So let's pull the bishop back to c2. I'm seeing us doing some trades on the d file. Queen d2. Okay, so we're just gonna be trading everything on the d file, it seems. But the end game shouldn't be too bad for me though. I think it's best if white plays the middle game because of the bishop here. And even though they're gonna have the bishop here in the end game, I could say that the weak pawns could be an issue. So queen goes to the file. Let's move the bishop to safety, and the plan is to play queen d3. I'm going to try to play the endgame here. So that way, at least my king could be a bit active, and I could say, hey, you have the bishop here, but your pawns aren't the best. My time is nowhere close to 7 minutes here, but we're in the endgame, and 5 minutes shouldn't be too little time to try to do something here. A4, that's not necessarily a pawn, because if I takes, there's bishop take. So let's just play queen to d3 and get the queens off the board. Wait, what was that? Wait, what did I miss? Oh my god. Look at this, guys. If I take on a4, she's gonna take on c4. So she pre-moved it. She was like, okay, he's gonna take, and I'm not gonna take and double up my pawns. Queen to d3. No, she played bishop takes c4. At first, I thought she blundered the bishop, but that's a whole entire queen, and that's a fork. And she resigns. 95%. We are on fire today. I actually thought I was getting outplayed. This is the Sicilian that I played against a lot with pawn to d5. But here we've seen pawn to e5, which I've faced it sometimes, but I'm not really sure what's the actual prep for it. Like bishop e3, I don't really get. Castling is fine though. Knight f6, rook e1. They're begging me to put the bishop on e3. I guess they don't want black to put their bishop on this diagonal. d6 wasn't really good. c4 was good. I'm so happy. Like in the back of my head, I thought c4 was a mistake. I'm developing. They wanted b4. B3 was good. They wanted queen c2. How do I play at 95% accuracy if all the moves I play is just good and not the best? They wanted queen c2 here. Bishop e6, nice. Bishop a3 is the okay. It's the correct plan, guys, but I really just think the plan didn't work. Like I should have played rook to d1 first, but let's say knight back. What do I play here? No bishop back, then knight here. Oh, I guess I should just not take the knight. Really? Oh my lord, guys. To take is a mistake. Bishops are better than knights. But I thought it doubled up the pawn though, to be honest. And then this plan that I'm going for, as you can see, the evaluation bar is dropping just a bit. It's slightly in the negative because the whole plan just doesn't work. Like rook d4 just makes it strong. Pulling my knight back to c3. This is where I was like, that's a good move. And I knew I was getting outplayed. Knight e2. Oh my god, black is just better. Wait, okay, that was a mistake. Yeah, I don't know why she didn't just continue with the plan of bishop g5. Like that just equalized the whole game. Now the position is just drawn. Bishop c2, that was the best. Queen d3 was the best. And the position is dead, dead drawn until she decided to give me the queen. And the third opponent, 2381. Let's use this structured thinking system trying to win. It looks like we're playing against a Joe Barber London with bishop f4. I have some nice, oh, immediate e4. This is called the Blackmar Dima Gambit, guys. All right. I mean, taking with the knight should be fine here. Knight takes, pawn takes, and I mean, okay, I'm just ahead by a pawn. Yeah, let's just because if I take with the pawn, they're gonna play f3 and then try to let me take, and then the knight comes in. But let's just take with the knight. I think after takes, they're still gonna try to play f3. Let's see. So pawn to f3 was played. What if I just play pawn to e5 here? Like I don't want to be greedy in the opening today, guys. Pawn to e5, pawn takes. We prevent the right to castle. Don't like that though. Don't like that. There's also pawn e6. There's bishops. Yeah, bishop f5. I'm a bigger fan of bishop f5 because I want to play pawn e6, but it blocks my bishop in. So bishop f5 first, then pawn e6. Yeah, I'm trying my best not to blunder, and what trying not to blunder, what I'm doing is I'm just always trying to be aware of, okay, what's the drawback of my last move? What piece am I leaving unprotected? What are my unprotected pieces? Like that's all the stuff that is going through my head. So the knight still decided to be developed on the f3 square, and from here I'm just gonna finish my development. Like there is knight c6, but he's gonna simply play c3. I need to focus on getting my king out the center of the board. Like once he castled, okay, actually I'm gonna play pawn c6. I think I need to play very solid here. I'm ahead by a pawn, but white definitely has some activity. Bishop c4, I want to takes, but e6 is gonna be hanging. So let's play e6. Let's first play e6, very, very solid. My bishop can always go to d5, but he's going to pull back and then try to trade. So that's an idea. I'm just trying to be solid here, guys. Bishop e7. Let's finish our development. My bishop is unprotected, so it's very important that I look for any tactical possibility that could happen. Bishop e7, there's knight e5, but then I have bishop f6. And at that point, I should be safe. Or maybe I should go knight to d7 first. I'm trying not to make any mistakes here, guys. All right, let's go knight d7 first, developing the knight. The knight could go to f6, but I prefer my bishop on the f6 square. Knight g5 I was expecting. The plan was to pull the bishop back to g6 to guard f7. I would not be surprised if a piece is sacrificed on the e6 square, but I just don't think it works. Like maybe I have to defend for a few moves, but I don't think it works. Bishop e7 is going to be a tempo on the knight. I think eventually he just has to sack to prove that, hey, Because if he's just going to put the knight on g5 and then pull it back to f3, that's going to be wasting time. Queen e2, that makes a lot of sense. Now a sacrifice is coming. Okay, knight b6 hits the bishop. I'm also threatening to take this pawn with check. There's also knight f6. There's queen e7. There's bishop e7. Bishop e7, there's takes, takes, queen takes. All right, that's what I'm trying to avoid. Knight b6, there's knight takes, takes, and if queen takes with check, then I block with the check. If knight b6, bishop takes, I takes, knight takes, my queen is going to be under attack. Okay, that's the more dangerous line. But I think that's all. The queen is going to be under attack. I just need to move my queen to safety, and okay, that's going to be the most dangerous line. Well, let's go for it. Oh, there's also some sacrificial ideas on f7. Yo, I have to be careful. What if I go knight f6? All right, let's try knight f6. Keeping this rook out of activity because there was some knight f7 sack followed by queen e6, and that's too dangerous. The good thing is, I'm currently threatening to take on d4. The sacrifice did happen. Oh my lord. Let's just take here. So we're currently ahead in material, but we're gonna have to defend like our life is on the line. Oh my god, that's a nice tactic. Did I just miss a winning tactic? Okay, I think I'm losing my rook, guys, which is embarrassing. Oh my god, man. Because once I go queen e7, that's a check. I'm not able to do anything because of the pin. I'm gonna try to trap the knight though. Like if I'm able to trap the knight, then I could still win. So if check, I go king d8, and if trade takes, maybe king d7 and the knight is trapped. No. Well, yeah. That could trap the knight. I don't think knight c7 is too dangerous for me here. My next plan is to play knight e4. Oh no, bishop f4. If bi- oh my god, he went for it. I don't think that's good though, bro. So what did we say? No, immediate king d7. Immediate king d7, which means the queen is under attack. The queen has no checks. And if the queen takes, I go bishop takes. And if knight takes, I takes. And if I have two pieces for the rook, I am happy. It's I'm happy if I have two pieces for the rook. So let's go king d7 here. If queen takes, bishop takes. Knight takes, rook takes. And if you okay, now we take. I'm ahead by two. Now we take, and the position is equal. The position is equal, but I'm the one with two pieces. Two pieces are better than a rook. So I have 5 pawns, he has 6 pawns, but I have 4 pieces on the board. He has 3 pieces on the board. It's not, I'm not saying it's easy or anything, but I like my chances here. His pawn on c2 is also hanging, which he did not try to defend. That is definitely a pawn. This is not me being greedy, by the way. We're in the end game. The goal is to attack pawns, so let's just take. I'm trying to I'm trying to not be as greedy as like I was in the previous videos, because it has definitely been backfired. So let me just centralize my bishop. If bishop e5, we keep the bishop centralized, and once we have the bishop centralized, we just can't lose. Let's just not blunder any tactic, and it's actually it's a good feeling to get another 3 of 3. I get a 3 of 3 maybe like every month or every other month I get a 3 of 3. But let's not jinx it because I'm only ahead by 1 point. In the end game, it's very important that the bishops are centralized. Everything needs to be centralized, but centralizing the bishop means you're able to play on two files. Rook e2 hits the bishop. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to go bishop to d6, but after takes, the rook gets access to e7. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go bishop e4 to hit the rook on e1 because I want to, what's the word? Uncoordinate his rooks. Well, that I'm also not afraid of because it's trading. Trading is good for me. And if he tries to check here, I win the bishop, so he has to take. That's also another pawn. That's definitely another pawn. If I take this pawn, he goes back. Now he wants to check on e7. At that point, I play rook to e8. Okay, that's kind of tricky though. No, it's not tricky because after takes, rook a1, I go bishop c4. And then if he takes, I go bishop a6. Oh, but then the rook is able to go here. I don't want to rush this. I really don't want to rush this. Even though I do not have the most amount of time on my clock. Takes rook here. How do we continue? Rook here, takes, rook over. Bishop back, rook takes here. Rook down. All right, let's not rush it. Let's go rook e8 and trade the rooks off the board. And the 2 pieces is going to beat the rook. I'm sure of that, especially since he has this isolated pawn. My king is going to be super active. I have 3 minutes on the clock, so I have to speed up. I don't want to get in a scenario where I draw or lose because of the time. I'm expecting him to take here though. Like if he doesn't take and I take, then after bishop c4 to a6, the rook could be trapped because the rook is not able to go to a8 because of my rook on e8. All right, rook c1. What's this guy doing? That's a pawn, bro. Rook c1, I take the free pawn. There's no discovered attacks that I'm afraid of. I'll just go back. Rook c1, rook a1, bishop c4. If he takes, bishop a6, and the rook is trapped. That's a pawn, buddy. That is a pawn. Oh, that's not a pawn. I didn't see that move. Because now if I takes, there's rook b1, and if I move the bishop, I lose this pawn. Like, what can I do to not be greedy? Like, oh my god. Now the game is gonna be way more complex than it needs to be. Way, way more complex than it needs to be. I'm actually thinking of sacrificing the bishop and winning with the pass pawns. Like, let's say I go bishop d5 and he checks. I move the king and he takes. Think it's winning, but it's harder. But what if I just start rolling my pawns right now? Like b5, he takes, b4, maybe rook here, but it's easy to defend. I'm gonna have a knight and I'm gonna keep rolling the pawns up the board. I didn't necessarily need to go into this variation. I have to play fast now. I didn't need to do all of this, but it already happened. So let's just work with it. Centralizing the knight, get the rook behind the pawns, and roll them up the board. The position is now equal. His pawn is weak. If I could also centralize my king, that would be good. But I have to ruthlessly push my pass pawns up the board now. Ruthlessly. Okay, so he hits the pawn here. Let's just defend the pawn first. Then knight d5 hits the rook. You could say my rook is also cutting off his king from joining the game. So his king is just not going to participate in this game. But one minute 50 should be a lot of time, but I'm still gonna just try to speed up because I don't want to not get this 3 of 3 because I already slightly messed it up and it's gonna break my heart if I even lose or draw this. Okay, he's trying to get his king in the game. Let's hit the rook. We have to play fast. Rook back is a fork, and that's a immediate win. He attacks the pawn. Let's play g3 to guard it. Maybe he's gonna try to trade the rooks. That makes some sense actually. I don't want the rooks off the board. If the rooks are off the board, it's gonna be harder for me to win. Okay, not sure what that does. Maybe it gives him a little check. But that's all. It's just a check. Push, check. Um, God, I need to play fast. Yeah, let's just roll the pawn. Oh my God, that was bad. There's rook here. Sheesh, that's the wrong pawn. God, am I gonna... Okay, let's check and go knight c4. Luckily. And then guard this pawn. What am I doing, man? Okay, he's not able to attack this knight. I need to get my king to d5 quickly. I need to get my king to d5. Or maybe I should just roll. Wait. All right, let's just roll the pawn up the board. Pass pawns has to be pushed. Even if he gets behind it, I just keep pushing. And then this one is going to come after. But So he push. Okay. Okay, let's roll. If he takes, I queen. So he has to get behind. Then I guard. Maybe he could sack his rook, but I'm going to try to win with this pass pawn if that happens. Okay, let's get behind. That's a pawn. The plan is to get the king here. Like, sacrificing is not terrible for him, to be honest. Ugh. Okay, check. Backside. Wait, what? Okay, king up works. Luckily, because if he takes I queen. Luckily. Then we go here. Maybe he's gonna sack. Yeah, was expecting the sack. Okay, now I'm gonna roll the pawn up the board. That's a free pawn, but I think rolling the pawn up the board is more important here. All right, makes sense. Okay, let's keep rolling. Hard. Oh boy, pawn push is also very strong. God. How do I even allow this, man? Takes, I check. Oh, rook takes. Okay, have to do this. I don't know how I even allow this. How? I need to get the rook. Let me get the rook behind the pawn. Oh no, fudge. What am I doing? Am I actually gonna lose this game? Oh, that's heartbreaking. Let's give a check. I literally cannot win this. All right, let's go here. Trying to check here. I also have no time on the clock. Okay, the pawns are very weak though. Very, very weak pawns. That's one pawn. Check. That's another pawn. Think it's drawn though. Check. Here maybe. It's drawn. I just can't escape with the king. That's gonna be an issue. Let's try this. And then when the rook move, I just 6 seconds. Can I actually win this? Oh no. That's nice. Check. Then he's gonna check again. Okay, it's drawn. It's drawn. I have 2 seconds on the clock. Can't believe. Looks like I'm gonna lose. What the fudge? Really? Oh my god. Oh my god. So he played 8 to 8. I played 8 to 6. Like this is just heartbreaking. I did everything I said I'm not gonna do. Clearly told myself, do not be greedy, and I was greedy. Oh my god. I mean, I'm just doing fine. Like the opening is just better for black. Apparently I blundered. And knight g5 was good. That was good. Oh, he needed to sack here. Why though? And if I go here, he checks. Why can't I go here? Oh, queen e2, then bishop here. Oh yeah, this attack is just too much for black. So I guess it's good for him. But this was bad. Like this, I knew this was a mistake. Look on the evaluation bar. I'm completely winning. Oh my god, it's crazy how I can't win these positions. Okay. They needed me to keep the rooks on the board. Like what can I do to not be greedy? It's affecting me mentally now. It's really affecting me mentally. And then b4 was fine. I knew b4 was fine. They wanted me to play it like this, which I just wasn't comfortable with this. It's gonna be a bit harder, but I guess in the long run I'll still play g6, win this pawn, win the game. I just made a bunch of bad decisions here. Okay, so here I needed to start roll the pass pawns. Like pass pawns must be pushed. I don't know what I was waiting on. I guarded the pawn, pushed the wrong pawn. I needed to push this. Now he plays this. Luckily, I was able to guard the pawn. King up was fine. I'm rolling the pawn. I'm rolling the pawn. I'm still completely winning. Why do I need to block? Oh, fudge. Because the rook is no longer able to get behind the pawn. None of the rooks are able to get behind the pawn. This is complete. Oh my god. This is painful to watch. And then he sack, obviously. And this is me rushing. Just take the pawn. And then if he attacks it, I protect it with the rook. Okay, pushing this is also winning because I'm cutting off his king and eventually I'm going to get a Lucina ending. It's funny how my endgame is just not up to par. Like, I play better endgames than this. I play better endgames than this. There's a link below to get exclusive content to my Patreon. And if you want to be a part of my book, submit your tactic to the email below. Please subscribe.